Innago or Innago, I still don't know how to say it. I think it's Innago. Innago is an online rent collection platform for landlords and property owners. And I don't work for them, but I've been using it for about 18 months now, and I really, really like it. And I feel like I know enough about it now to give you an honest review. So I want to share the top 5 features that I really like about it, and then keeping it real, also want to share with you the 3 things that I've had to figure a way around. And at the end, I'll also share with you how Innago is able to make their money without charging us subscription fees. Hey there, my name is Sydney Dunn. I live in North Carolina and I help my parents manage their rental houses. So up until about a year and a half ago, we were manually collecting rent from tenants. We didn't have any way to screen potential tenants. And we also, most of our leases were verbal. We had very few paper written leases. And honestly, it was getting really hard for me to keep up with everything. I was spending a lot of time collecting payments from tenants and depositing checks and dealing with that side of things. And also, I was really worried about the liability side of things by not having written leases. I knew I wanted us to do a better job, so I researched a lot of different options and I eventually landed on Innago. It's been a game changer for us, and if you're interested in trying it out for your business, I've left a link down below. Okay, top 5 things I love. First one, which is essentially just the core of the system itself, is that you're able to collect rent online. This was something we weren't doing before. And so this was a major, being able to collect payments electronically has been a huge time saver for us. The way the tenants can make their payment is through a bank deposit or what's called an ACH payment, or they can pay through a credit card. And the fees that are associated with this are $2 per ACH bank draft payment and 3% for a credit card payment. And the landlord is able to choose whether you want to absorb that cost or you push it onto your tenant. And the compromise that we came up with is I've told them if they pay by the bank draft, then I will absorb that $2 fee gladly. Happy to pay that for not having to track down checks and run down and deposit checks and all that stuff. I'm more than happy to pay that fee, $2 per month from them. But if they choose to pay by credit card, that 3% fee will go to them. So I thought that was a fair compromise. And it's also helpful if you're running multiple companies, you can choose like this property, the rent from this is deposited into this bank account, or another property goes into a different bank account. So it offers you options there. Number 2, e-signing leases. Like I said before, we had a few paper leases, but a lot were just verbal, and I did not feel good about that. So the fact that we were able to digitize this, it helped us keep better records, and it just helped the entire process because it is just a click of the button. You get their email address, you fill in the blank of the lease for the things that apply to them, and it works like DocuSign. They sign it electronically, you sign it, and it's recorded and it's legal. This feature has dramatically improved our record keeping, and I feel a lot better now that we have all of our tenants on signed, written, electronic leases. Number 3 are how the late fees are added on automatically. I did not like having to contact tenants and tell them that their rent was late and that their late fee is now required. Through Innago, as the landlord, you set the late fee, what percent or flat fee it is, what day it triggers, and it just automatically applies to their invoice. You don't have to be the bad guy. It's just built into the system. And I feel like this has really improved our tenant-landlord relationship, and that's something that's really important to me. Number 4 is the dashboard, which is when you log in, that first thing you see on your homepage. It has this really awesome graphic that can easily show me what rent for this month has been collected, what's still outstanding, and what is past due, so I can easily follow up with people. It also sends me like a summary email each month saying, here's the tenants who are still outstanding from this month, and that just helps me so I can follow up with them individually. Number 5 is the background checks. Being able to run background checks on potential tenants within Innago itself. It's built into the system. So in the past, we did not have a really good tenant screening process, and that burned us a little bit in the past. So by having this background check feature built right in where you can screen potential tenants, it has really been helpful for us. All right, so like I said, this is going to be an honest review. So there are 3 things that I wouldn't say they're faults of the system, but they are just been things that I've had to figure out a way to work around. And I want to let you know those as well. So first thing is the payment processing timelines. There is a built-in hold time to payments, which is 1 day, which is typically okay. But it increases to 3 days for new tenants. And that's just a safeguard to make sure that their bank draft or their credit card payment doesn't bounce. So they don't deposit it in your account until it's been like 3 business days. And this could possibly be an issue if you're trying to get a tenant in quickly and you need to make sure that their payment goes through and you don't have to wait those 3 business days. And so my workaround for this has been you can just collect cash or check for that very first payment and then get them set up in Innago going forward. Second thing was there is a bit of a setup time for creating that initial lease template. So like I said, when you go to e-sign these leases, they have to have something to sign. So you have to have a lease in place already. You upload your lease into Innago, and then you just have like the blanks where you would normally fill it in by pen. You add in little text boxes and you say the tenant needs to fill in this blank. The landlord will fill in this blank. And that it works great, but I just make sure your lease is good to go and is ready. Because I uploaded it and completed all those little fill in the blank spots, but then I tweaked something about our lease and added another, I can't remember what it was, but added another line. And I had to re-upload my PDF because my lease had changed. And then I had to add in those blank spaces. So just that's my best tip there, is just make sure your lease is exactly like you want it before you upload it, because you would have to go through that process again when your lease changes. But still, definitely worth the time to take that initial time to set it up, because you set it up once, you add in those blanks once, and then just with every new tenant, you can just fill in the blanks from there. And it's made it that spending time to create that template is 100% worth it. And the last thing we've had to figure a way to work around is for our non-tech savvy tenants. So we have a couple tenants who they don't even have an email address. And so that has been, they're not going to be able to create an online login for Innago and submit payments that way. And so the workaround for that is that we added them into Innago and we had them sign the lease, but then we had them sign it on paper, manually uploaded it into Innago, and we're manually recording their check payments, which is fine. And going forward with new tenants, I have built that into our onboarding process, just saying, hey, are you comfortable with making payments online? This is kind of how our process works. But for those tenants that we already had, of course, I'm going to work with them, and I'm not going to make them get an email address to be able to fit into our system. All right, so that's it. That's my top 5 things that I love about it, and the 3 things, like I say, we've tried to figure a way to work around. And so how does Innago make their money? Because that's what I wanted to know. I was like, how are they providing this service without having to charge us a monthly subscription fee? So the 3 ways that they're making their money are from the payment fees, which is like 2% for a bank draft or 3% on a credit card. So they make a little bit there. Also those background checks, if you want to run background checks, there's a $35 fee there. And that's another one of those things. The landlord can absorb it, or the tenant applicant can pay it. And then last thing is renter's insurance. And we don't require our tenants to go through Innago to get their renter's insurance, but that is an option. And that is something that is marketed to the tenant. And that would be another way that they make money on the backside. But it is not a requirement to use Innago that you have to buy renter's insurance from them. And so all those things seem reasonable to me. And I mean, I'm not naive enough to think that they couldn't change and start charging a subscription fee sometime soon. But they've been in business since 2017, so I'm hopeful that they don't change their pricing model, because it seems to work really well for us and our tenants as well. Nobody has ever complained about it, which I was surprised. I was expecting a little bit of pushback on, this is complicated, or we don't understand how to do this. But everybody has been really good at it, and the interface is really simple. I think I've tested it out on the tenant side and definitely on my side. I love how simple it is to use, and the few times that I've had to contact support, they've been really receptive and really helpful. So at this time, I feel really good about recommending Innago to anybody who is interested in getting more of their rental business online. I'd love for you to try it out. You can use the link down below. And also, if you have any questions, I don't know that I could answer them all, but I could help or give you some ideas. You're welcome to put those in the comments below as well.